What's up, everybody? Today we're going to go over what's happening in the DC area housing market. Because you would think with these high interest rates, the market would have calmed down, but it hasn't. It's actually kind of crazy out here. So let's take a look at some of the data, and then I'm going to share with you my firsthand experience of working in this market 24/7. So let's dive right in. Let's start with interest rates. According to Mortgage News Daily, the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate on April 17th was 7.5%, which is super high. That being said, home prices in the DC Metro, which includes DC proper, Montgomery County, Prince George's County, and Frederick County, Maryland, and Northern Virginia, are near record highs, despite there being more inventory on the market. According to Bright MLS, which is our local multiple listing service, the median sold price in March of 2024 is up 10.1% from March of 2023. That is the fastest pace of home price growth since February of 2022. Active listings were up 4% from last year, but the number of new listings coming on the market was 11.4% lower than March of 2023. And even with more active listings this year, the number of pending sales, meaning the number of houses that go under contract, is down 4.6% from a year ago. The average days on market was 7 days this past March, down from 9 days a year ago. And our month of supply in March of 2024 was 1.39 months, up from 1.12 months a year ago. Just for reference, a balanced market is anywhere from 4 to 6 months of supply. Anything less than 4 months is considered a seller's market, so 1.39 months is crazy. The spring will be challenging for buyers as new listings have been slow to come to the DC metro area market and mortgage rates remain elevated. Buyers who wait for lower mortgage rates later this year could find more inventory, but they will also face even more competition as rate drops entice more buyers into the market, Bright MLS said in its monthly market outlook report. So now that we got all the data out of the way, let's talk reality. And by the way, if you are getting some value out of these videos, please consider subscribing to our channel and liking this video. It just motivates us to make more videos, and I do appreciate it. Now, on to reality. As most of you know, I work as a full-time realtor in the DC area. I'm licensed in DC, Maryland, and Virginia, but I specialize in DC and its Maryland and Virginia suburbs, which are right outside of the district. I'm in my 21st year as a full-time realtor, so you can see I've been through many different types of markets. I just want to give you that background so you kind of see my perspective and where I'm coming from. And through them all, I have to say, I have never been more confused, and yet not, than in this present market. Let me explain. First, why it all makes sense, and then why I'm confused. It all makes sense because there are plenty of people out there, like me, who would most likely be selling their home in the near future. Next year, I'm going to be an empty nester, and I don't need all this space. But I refinanced my home in 2021 for a 30-year fixed mortgage interest rate of 2.865. It's just so much cheaper for me to stay here in my home, even though I would love to capitalize on those profits, and I don't need all this space, than to sell and move. And I have to admit, every time I see homes on the market similar to mine and what they're selling for, I go through all that rumination in my mind. I could sell it now, I can make this much money, etc., etc. And it gets really in my head. And then I think about how much it would cost for me to go buy something, and it all goes out the window. I mean, the more I think about it, I'm too young to go out and rent for the rest of my life, and I can't afford to buy something that I really want with these high interest rates and high prices, so I decide to stay. And if I'm going through this scenario, I imagine a lot of other people are going through the same thing. I know that I have clients that were ready to sell, but they too have chosen to stay where they are and not put their homes on the market. This is what is creating our inventory problem. In fact, my current sellers are either leaving the area or they are at an age where they do want to rent for the rest of their life and just want to reap the benefits of this market. My confusion is to why the buyers out there are acting so crazy. I've seen houses go under contract, sight unseen, for $200,000 over the asking price, even with these high interest rates. I'm just fascinated by how their minds work. I mean, it's possible the market could just keep going up. There are some industry insiders out there who are predicting 10 years of limited inventory due to the government's actions during the pandemic when they tried to stimulate the economy by making money so cheap. And I guess if you know you are staying for 10 years or more, it might make sense to you. But really, sight unseen, no inspection, no contingencies, $200,000 over the asking price? Am I the only one that thinks it's kind of crazy? I am also seeing a lot of private sales. Compass, my broker, sells 37% of their inventory in the DC Metro off market privately. I myself have a seller that chose to sell privately, and it worked out really well for both the seller and the buyer. The seller got their price and the buyer didn't have to compete. The buyer did a yes or no home inspection and had a loan and appraisal contingency. They did pay a premium to buy off market, but it all worked out for everyone. I'm actually encouraging my buyers to focus on off-market properties as well. If you're willing to pay the seller's price, it just seems a lot more reasonable than competing with those people that are willing to throw money at a house without ever seeing it just to take it off the market. And not all houses are created equal. I can tell you from my experience in this market, right now I have homes that sold over asking, way over asking, homes that sold for the list price, and I just had buyers that bought a home under the list price. So it really is house by house. What I'm seeing is that houses that show really well are marketed professionally and are priced right, meaning under the last house that sold in the neighborhood, are the houses that are selling like crazy. Overpriced homes in the same neighborhood are sitting there and the buyers are waiting until they reduce their price until they'll make an offer. So another strategy in this crazy market is to look for homes that have been on the market for 2 weeks or more, because you can most likely negotiate with those sellers. Buyers need to see the value, and if they do, they will compete, and the escalation begins. The one outlier in my market is actually DC proper, especially DC condos. The average days on market for DC homes to go under contract in March was 19 days. That's the highest in the region and triple what it is in the DC suburbs of Maryland and Virginia. The month supply for DC in March was 3.56 months, up from 2.5 months a year ago. DC did get hit during the pandemic as everybody wanted more space and wanted to move out of the city. But it did then start to recover as vaccinations were introduced. But it's still not selling like Maryland or Northern Virginia. There have also been a lot of news stories citing the uptick in crime in DC. So there's also that, which is not helping the city. Don't get me wrong, condos are still selling in DC, but it's a much more balanced market than out in the suburbs. So the bottom line is, if you do want to buy in this market, just be prepared. And if you want access to the private listings that I spoke about with Compass, just send me an email. We'll set up a Zoom, we'll chat. Honestly, it is one of the main reasons that I switched to Compass a year ago. So I'm happy to share that with you. And if you're thinking about selling and you live locally, let's talk strategy, because there definitely is a strategy to be had in this market. It's just not a market for the faint of heart, and you need to move quickly. As for the ramifications of the NAR settlements, we've had buyer agency here in the DC Metro for over 20 years, so we're kind of used to it. Right now, it's business as usual. Will that change if the courts approve the settlement in July? Yeah, I think it will. I'm just not sure what exactly it will look like. I don't think any of us do, including the government, who needs to figure out how buyers with VA loans are going to engage representation if they want it, if the seller is not willing to pay the buyer's agent. Because right now, it's impossible. They're not allowed to pay a buyer's agent. So a lot needs to be figured out. So stay tuned, because I will let you know what is really happening, at least in my neck of the woods. And if you missed the video that we did on the best places to live in the state of Maryland for 2024 by niche.com, definitely check that out next. Thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. Bye!